So, Bernie, what can you tell us about central Pennsylvania out towards the Harrisburg area? What's happening? What's happening there this morning?
Well, central Pennsylvania and Harrisburg was always on the fringe.
Mm-hmm.
The Accuweather forecast never had any more than 1 to 3 inches. We're going to hold with that. This is the bigger storm is going to be farther east, but some of this precipitation that you see across northern parts of Delaware and southeast PA, we'll try to wrap in, and you can see this precipitation back to the west. So I think that's right. I think there's going to be a couple of inches in Harrisburg. Now, you're not going to have to go too far east. You start getting toward the Lancaster area, I think it's a 3 to 6. There could be locally 8. But the big storm with this has never been for central Pennsylvania or even Harrisburg. Harrisburg's always been on the western fringe of this. The big storm's Philadelphia, New Jersey, on to the northeast, and that's the area that there's also going to be over a foot.
So for Philadelphia, that you're saying they could get over a foot potentially?
Yeah, sure. We have 6 to 12 now. I think there's a better bet for over a foot to the north and to the east, but I mean, they may be in it. The problem with the storm like this, you get these bands that set up. They're locally heavy bands. We saw that with the last storm, where we had heavier snow south and west of Allentown than it was in Allentown, and we were kind of thinking the opposite, that Allentown might be a little more. So you get these small bands that could sit up, and that's why you always hear about local amounts, because they're in a few spots here and there and not widespread.
Sure. So how does the storm compare to the one last week? Is it similar? Are there different hazards?
Totally different. It's a totally different animal. That storm was much more intense. It was also a bigger storm that had covered a larger area as far as the impacts. Remember, we had damaging winds all the way down to the Outer Banks of North Carolina into Maine. So that was a bigger. This was a smaller storm. However, this one's going to be a colder storm. So a lot of the areas that got rain last time, like Hartford, lots of southern New England, they're going to get snow. New York City, they virtually got no snow. They didn't get any snow out of this, at least that accumulated. This one, they're going to have 6 to 12.
So obviously the Harrisburg area, 1 to 3 inches. As people get ready to go out to work, out to school, what are some things they should keep in mind as they venture out into the day?
Well, I think the morning commute's fine. I think it's early to mid-afternoon where it can snow a little hard. Now, this time of the year, you need it to snow hard to accumulate on the surface, especially because we don't have an Arctic air mass in place already. So temperatures most of today are going to be above freezing, so most of the snow is going to melt. Now, during a heavier burst, the roads can go get snow covered and slippery. I'm not sure that happens in Harrisburg, but certainly the farther east you go, the better bet that happens. And then you go from wet to snow covered and slippery, especially bridges and overpasses. They always will get snow covered first. But there is a possibility that it doesn't snow hard enough to accumulate at all on the roads. But again, we're going to have to watch that banding coming in from the east. I still think it stays off to the east in Harrisburg, so there's only a couple inches of snow there.
So it doesn't sound like any real means for too much panic at this point.
Not at this point, no. Now, the farther east you go on the Pennsylvania Turnpike, it goes from not to a big deal to a big deal, pretty quick. I mean, that's not a big distance between Harrisburg and Lancaster. You start getting to Lancaster, you start getting into some problems.
So again, the timing of this, it sounds like the morning commute is going to be okay, but later on to the afternoon is when it's really going to start picking up.
Yeah, and that's when we'll watch those heavy snow bands. And if they can wrap back up all the way back into Harrisburg, yeah, you can get 5, 6, 7 inches of snow. I don't think that happens. I think that's farther east.
Sure.